Welcome, friends. I'm Dana Bristol Smith with Leap to Success, and I'm so happy that you're here with us today for self-care in stressful times. Today's topic is prioritizing yourself. So by showing up here today, by giving yourself these 30 minutes to reset and recharge, you are prioritizing yourself. So you can go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back and acknowledge yourself for doing that, because we're off to a really good start. I would like to go ahead and introduce you to Kelly Grimes, my co-host, and then walk you through a guided mindfulness practice.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. And isn't that amazing? You came to do something you're already doing. But I hope we have some other strategies for you that'll help you continue to prioritize yourself.
That's great. Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then we're going to go ahead and take our poll to see what your current level of stress is. But I'd like you to consider the answers to these questions. Are you always last on your to-do list? Are you always putting everybody's needs above your own? Are you always there for anybody who needs you as soon as they call, and sometimes even before they do? Okay, well, those are wonderful qualities to want to help others, to serve others, to care for others. But the next question is, do you do those things first before you take care of yourself? And if you do, are you feeling exhausted? Are you feeling burned out? And do you feel that it's just not a sustainable way to be? My guess is that the answer is yes, because I know most of you with us on the call today are people who care for and people who help others. And most of you are women, and we tend to put others' needs ahead of our own. So you're going to learn some strategies today from Kelly about how to prioritize yourself. And I want to encourage you to do this without guilt. But let's go ahead and take our stress poll first. So Alyssa, if you'd put that up for us. So please rate yourself on a scale of 1 being the lowest level of stress to 10 being the highest level of stress. Where are you right now? What is stress? Are you feeling it in your body? Do you feel it in your breath? Sometimes we feel it in our chest. Are you feeling it in your mind with just thoughts that are circling around and around and not giving you a moment's peace? Thank you. I see your answers coming in, and it looks like right now most people are at about a 5 and a 6. So about halfway up that chart. So thank you for sharing that. And let's see what we can do to bring that stress level down. I'd like to share a really powerful quote with you from Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So take a moment and just let that sink in, and let yourself have these next few minutes just as a way to reset, to recharge. You don't have to do anything at all. Just sit where you're sitting and breathe. And let me walk you through this mindfulness practice that's called the arrival technique. So notice right now how you're sitting in your chair with your feet flat on the ground. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that, and bring your awareness to how it feels just to be sitting. Noticing how your foot touches the ground, your feet touching the ground. Now notice how your legs feel against the chair and where your hands are resting. Take 3 deep breaths in and out at your own pace. Now, check in with your body. Do a scan of your body, starting down at the bottom of your feet and working your way up. And identify any areas that you might feel tension, tightness, or perhaps you don't experience any sensation at all. But just continue to scan your body. Maybe through your hip areas, lower back, shoulders, and neck. And just notice if you feel any tightness or any pain. And if you do feel pain, go ahead and take a moment to breathe directly into that area. I know right now my lower back on the right side is feeling sore, so I'm going to just breathe directly into that area and see if I can also breathe to the space around it. Good. In noticing those areas where you have tightness or pain, see if you can notice them without criticizing them, without being mad at them. But just offer, as you take in those breaths, offer them some kindness and offer them some love. Now bring your awareness to your thoughts, and with a non-judgmental and curious attitude, notice what you're thinking. Are you thinking about something that happened in the past? Are you thinking about the other things that you feel you should be doing right now rather than giving yourself these few minutes? Are you thinking about what will come next on your massive to-do list? So as you breathe in and out, see if as you notice those thoughts, you can let them be, and you don't have to attach to them. So breathe in, just noticing whatever thoughts are there. You can even visualize thoughts like clouds in the sky that are constantly moving, constantly changing. But around those clouds is all that beautiful open blue sky. To see if you can breathe now right into that open sky. Go ahead and take 3 deep breaths in and out, in and out, and in and out. On your next breath in, I'd like you to say this phrase to yourself in your mind or out loud. So breathing in, I breathe into this moment. And as you breathe out, I have arrived. And go ahead and do that 2 more times. I breathe into this moment. I have arrived. And 1 more time. I breathe into this moment. I have arrived. Good. And you can go ahead and gently open your eyes, and I'll welcome you back and know that you have arrived and you are here. So again, congratulations for taking time for yourself and prioritizing yourself. And I'm going to go ahead and turn you over to Kelly.
Thank you so much, Dana. Oh, I love that arrival technique. And it's such a beautiful way to begin prioritizing ourselves because it allows us to come home to ourselves. It allows us to tune in to how we're feeling, what sensations are going on in our body, and maybe even tune into what we need. which is such an important part of being able to take a nurturing or caring step toward ourselves. So I am going to share with you some strategies from my book, The Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning today. And I am going to hopefully give you an opportunity to explore for yourself kind of where you fall on a continuum of prioritizing yourself. Because usually it's not all or nothing, right? Maybe there'd be one or two things we do, but to really look at an overview of that for ourselves. And then to give you some strategies to begin creating some structure around that, which I find super helpful to have structure to prioritize myself. Otherwise, what usually happens, right, is we can easily fall down the list again and prioritize everyone around us. So in this process, I think we can ask ourselves some reflective questions. And depending on where we are in our lives, like right now, many people are, working from home, caring for their families from home, dealing with this incredible stress of the pandemic, which has changed and unsettled ways of being that we used to have. So there is a sense that this reflection will change depending on who we are actively caring for, right? So the first thing I want to ask you is, have you been in a habit of placing everyone else's needs over your own in your own to-do list? So think of your to-do list. What do you have as priorities on there? Are you on there, or is it the other caring activities that you have to do? So that's one way to start assessing, am I valuing myself? Am I doing that? Another thing I think it'd be really helpful is, can you predict other people's needs without any challenge? But sometimes it's difficult for you to even know what you need. Oftentimes when we have focused so much on caring for other people, we get really good, right, at predicting, at being able to support people. And then when somebody says, what do you need? We might be thinking, oh gosh, what do I need? I haven't paid attention to that in so long. So that's another really good reflective question. The next thing is, if you paused right now and had to identify how you feel and what you need, would you be able to do that? I think that's one of those questions to continue to tune into, and that's going to be one of my strategies for prioritizing ourselves is taking that time to pause and reflect on that. So I hope that for some of you who have been attending these self-care webinars, that isn't as difficult, but maybe for some new folks with us today, that would be the place to start. The next thing is, if you looked at your calendar right now, would it reflect your intention and commitment to nurture and care for yourself? Imagine if somebody else picked it up. Would they be able to know, oh, look, this person really has practices that she's committed to? Oftentimes we might put lots of things in our calendars of commitments that we've made externally, but we might not put those same commitments down to ourselves. So that's another way to assess if we're really prioritizing. How about this one? Are you often exhausted by the end of the day, and so you end up putting off something that would be really nurturing? Sometimes if we leave ourselves to the end of our to-do list, we might be too exhausted by the time we get to the end of the day to actually invest in ourselves and do whatever that is. So that's a really important thing to think about. If you get exhausted, you wouldn't want to put your self-nurturing practice at the end of the day. You might want to put it at the beginning of the day. The fact is that many of us have been taught to nurture everybody else around us, and we might actually forget that includes us, and so therefore we don't prioritize ourselves. As a result, oftentimes we can become stressed and overwhelmed and exhausted, and I find that leads oftentimes to our giving being tinged with resentment, and we might also feel underappreciated. Have you ever done where you're just giving, and then you don't feel appreciated because you actually are exhausted yourself? And at that point, maybe not being able to give from that place of love and compassion where you want to be giving because you've just overgiven. And if that resonates with you, you're not alone. We are absolutely taught, I think, in our culture to have our value placed on how supportive and how much we give to others. And so shifting our mindset to understand that actually to take care of ourselves is an act of care for others because we're filled up. And then we can do it much more sustainably. So think about a time recently that you scheduled something for yourself to do. It could be anything. Maybe it was going for a walk. Maybe it was, taking a bike ride or going on a hike or spending time doing something just for you. Okay, do you have that in your mind? Then imagine a friend or family member calling you to ask if you could help them. What do you think you would do in that situation? Would you say, "Oh, I would love to, but I have this other thing scheduled. May I help you later?" Or would you put your thing off and go and help them? Now, I'm not talking about an emergency. Emergencies, we might, be able to be flexible with all of that. But over time, if we often put the things off that would be most supportive to ourselves to help other people, that becomes a habit. And it actually feeds a habit of self-neglect. And when we neglect ourselves over time, we end up actually giving ourselves a message that we are not valuable and that we don't have worth because other people do instead of ourselves. When we falsely believe that our value is based on caring for other people and not ourselves, we can really get hooked into dropping everything to then go and be of service. Now, I love to be of service, and I am a huge advocate of, spreading love and compassion and support in the world. And I know I'm way more effective at doing it if I prioritize my own self-nurturing and self-care so that I come from this filled up place to be able to support people. The other thing I notice that happens with folks a lot is when they make a commitment to themselves and they break it over and over again to take care of other people and other people's needs, they end up feeling guilty and bad about themselves, bad about their own, not following through. So it diminishes their own trust in themselves. And as a result, it ends up feeding more feelings of unworthiness. And that sense of unworthiness, right, makes it much more difficult to prioritize ourselves. So we get stuck, right? We get stuck in a cycle of overgiving, overwhelm, exhaustion, and self-neglect. The amazing thing is, friends, we can interrupt that cycle. And this is what's really powerful. The more that we nurture and care for ourselves, the more that we feel our own value and worth, right? Because remember, nurturing and caring for ourselves is nurturing a relationship with ourselves. It's having this sense of importance of who we are and tending to that. When we do that, that sense of valuing ourselves then encourages us to prioritize ourselves. So it's actually taking the inspired step of nurturing ourselves is going to help break the cycle and help create a new self-supporting cycle where the more we nurture and care for ourselves, the more that we feel our own value, and the more we feel our own value and worth, the easier time it is to prioritize ourselves, right? That makes sense. And it requires that we take some inspired action. So here are some strategies to start prioritizing yourself. The first thing is to have some practices where you pause and check in with yourself throughout the day. Dana took us through a beautiful arrival technique, and you absolutely could pause and do that for a few minutes. If you just have a moment or two, you could use the STOP analogy, an acronym. STOP. STOP stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. What I love about that is that can happen pretty quick. You can just pause throughout your day, and you could put it at times you're doing something in a regular routine fashion. Maybe you do this before you eat. Maybe you do this before you make a phone call. Do it before you start checking your email or something that would be taking you outside yourself again, right? This process is really tuning in to what you need and how you feel And when you can do that, you can be much more aware of taking nurturing steps for yourself than if you lose yourself in everything that's needed from you rather than that's about you. It's harder to prioritize taking that time. So pausing throughout the day. I asked you in the question, could you identify what you felt and what you needed? What's really helpful about that is that then you can ask yourself this question: what would be the most nurturing activity that I could do right now? And again, this changes. It's not like one activity is for everything, but maybe it would be, I'm feeling anxious right now. So I'm going to take some really intentional breaths in and out. And as I breathe in, I'm going to breathe in peace. And as I breathe out, I'm going to breathe out anxiety. That's simple, right? Another thing it might be is, oh, I'm feeling, like moving my body would be helpful. So maybe I'm going to take a walk, or I'm going to put on music and dance, or I'm going to, do something fun for, a minute. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the tuning in and listening. And then prioritizing, right? This is important. It doesn't have to take a long period of time for it to demonstrate its importance. It might be, I'm feeling sad, and so I'm going to call a friend, or I'm going to use my gratitude practice that's so uplifting to me. So I'm going to take time right now to come up with 5 things I'm feeling grateful for in this moment to really support me, right? Okay, so you're pausing and you're checking in, right? You're figuring out what would be the most nurturing thing you could do for yourself right now. Then it's scheduling it, right? If we put something in our calendar, it demonstrates that it's a priority to us. So I put at the top of my day, I start my day with these practices because I get really tired at night. So if I'm exhausted at the end of the night, I'm not sure that I'd actually follow through. So I put them earlier in the day because that works for me. But you have to tune in for yourself and figure out what works for you. So if in the beginning of the day, I might put sacred self-nurturing. I actually put that in my calendar. And the reason I do is it helps remind me it's non-negotiable. If somebody else asked me to do something during that time, I'd say, I am available after this time because I already have that time set up. So think about what you would put. Some people put sacred self-care, some people put me time, some people, could be as creative as you want. Make it something that's meaningful to you and that is a commitment to you. When you look at that, you feel good. You feel encouraged and excited to do whatever that activity is. So put it in your calendar. The next thing is be prepared to set a boundary and honor your commitment to yourself. It's so important to have more trust and belief in ourselves when we follow through with our own commitments. And you know what, friends? It reminds people that we value ourselves. If I say to somebody, gosh, I would love to get together with you, but I'm not available until 8 a.m. And they're saying, well, why not? I say, you know what? I have this sacred self-nurturing time until 8 a.m. every morning, but I would love to meet with you after that. That really demonstrates what's important to me. And someone's going to, I believe, have more respect for me that I'm respecting myself and my own commitments. The next thing that we want to do all the time when we are making any changes in our life is to really acknowledge our growth and our effort. Now, remember, this is not about perfection. It is about progress and it's about growth. So we're going to honor what things we've done. And if we've fallen back into old ways, which is easy for any of us, we can come back to ourselves with kindness and compassion and start again. Go back. So you know what? Tomorrow I'm starting again and I'm going to do that. Over time, you're going to notice such a huge change in yourself as you nurture yourself consistently. And then that feeds our motivation to continue to prioritize ourselves. So I'm wondering, from the different ideas that I gave you, what do you think would be a new way that you could prioritize yourself this week? I would love it if you would share it in the chat so I can share with everybody how will you prioritize yourself? Is it that you're going to check in with yourself? That you're going to choose a new nurturing practice and put it in your calendar? Is it that you're going to set boundaries and you're going to really define that time for yourself? Or is it that you're going to acknowledge yourself? And each time that you're able to prioritize yourself, you're going to really give yourself some beautiful credit for showing up in a new way. So someone shared that they're going to make a daily walk, make sure to take a daily walk, and no matter what else comes up, be sure that happens. Somebody else said that they are going to start using their calendar as a tool for prioritizing themselves. That's wonderful. And the fact is that this is all about changing habits. And anytime that we change habits, if we've left ourselves to the bottom of our to-do list, it may take a little while to bring ourselves up. But the more that we can understand this, I want to share this beautiful quote from Parker Palmer, because I think part of this is a mindset shift to prioritize ourselves. And the quote is, "Self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on this earth to offer others." Anytime we can listen to our true self and give the care it requires, we do it not only for ourselves, friends, but for the many others whose lives we touch. I think that's such a helpful reminder. I'm going to share just a one or two others. Somebody said they're going to put meditation and walks in their calendar and say no and set boundaries with difficult people. Someone else is going to check in with themselves throughout the day and get to set boundaries. Someone else is going to pause and stretch throughout the day because she's noticed she's been feeling more tension in her body. And so pausing and listening to what she needs. Those are all beautiful. I'm really grateful that you were here today. I look forward to hearing more about the difference that this makes. We all have a potential to be role models for each other and to encourage each other. So let's do it. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to hand things over to Dana.
Thank you, Kelly. That was great. And it's the perfect lead in to our March webinars, because for those of you who have been with us for a while, and I see that many of you who are with us today have been with us many times, so I'm really glad that we continue to serve you and provide you this respite during your Tuesday at noon if you're here on the West Coast. But our theme for next month is the affirmation, "I am nurtured by life." So we're going to be looking at other self-nurturing practices. And what I know is that if you're not prioritizing yourself, you're not going to commit to yourself, and you're not going to put these practices in place. So we're going to explore a lot more next month, and I'm looking forward to that. And as we get ready to close here, I'd like to go ahead and put up the stress poll once again and have you check in with yourself and rate yourself. What is your current level of stress? Now that you've taken these 25 minutes for yourself today. And I see folks at a 4 and a 5, somebody all the way up at a 9. Well, I hope that you will take some more time for yourself to calm down and give yourself what you need just to get through your day. And I see that we've got somebody at a 2, we've got 3, 4, 5. It looks like our average right now is a 3. So we have reduced stress overall by 50%. So that's wonderful. And for our friend who's up at a 9, I really do hope that you take care of yourself. I want to thank you all for being with us. I want to thank you for making the commitment to yourself. When you are better, when you feel better, I think you can be better. And I also wanted to mention, we always think of these things that we have to do in order to take care of ourselves. I'd like to leave you with this thought of, rather than doing, being. So what can you be? Can you be patient? Can you be kind? Is there something that you can be that will allow you to give yourself the time that you need, that will allow you to prioritize yourselves? And maybe it just might be feeling that you're important. So I want to let you know that you are important to us here at Leap to Success. And I look forward to seeing you again next week for self-care in stressful times. Bye-bye.